Hey everyone, and welcome to a Waffles Foundation Inc. video. My name is Alfred Bonner. I'm the president and founder of the Waffles Foundation. And just to get right into it, so my son died of suicide. It's a complicated story, and I'll talk about that on a different video, but suicide nonetheless, and the stigma that goes along with having a child who dies from suicide. And hopefully these videos, we could help each other. This is about talking, about understanding the pitfalls that you're going to face out there, what's going to happen. I don't know what point you're at. For me, at this making of this video, it's coming on 7 years. So my sympathies to everybody out there who's lost a child. It's the worst club in the world to be in, and you never really get better, but it's just about surviving every single day. So first off, I want to talk about this as one of the first videos, and there is a tremendous stigma. First off, when a child dies, it's a big problem. Obviously, it's the biggest problem any parent is going to face. But the stigma that parents of children who die from suicide, my son was 27, he was a musician, so we'll talk about that later in a different video, and those who know music know where I'm going from with that already. But the thing of it is that when a child dies, and so let's just say a child is a fireman, a person's a fireman, and they die in the line of duty, or they're a soldier or a police officer, or they're a nurse, or something where they're in a profession and they die, or they're just a random thing, they get hit by a car or something happens. There's a different kind of, now look, and I'm going to say this right out. For people standing at a cemetery, if there were 3 people standing in a cemetery and one died, the kid died from, fireman, and one died from suicide, believe me, you're at that cemetery, the fact of the matter is your kid isn't there. But in the sake of a kid dying from suicide, there's a certain stigma that goes along with that, and you're going to face it. And as I say, if you're in the beginning stages, if whether you're in the middle of it or whatever, you're going to face it. And you know what I'm talking about, which is there's, years ago, it's getting a little bit better, but there's still a lot of people out there. And now I'm Catholic, so there's a lot of people out there who would say if you commit suicide, obviously it's a mortal sin, and they're going to tell you that your child didn't go to heaven. I, for one, don't believe that. I believe we have a loving God up there, and I don't understand his or her motives all the time, and I'd be lying if I told you I did. But I do know that the creator of the universe, who created all things that we feel and know, they're not going to hold you accountable. Now, is there some kind of, purgatory or thing for doing something wrong? Maybe there is. That would make a lot of sense. I mean, the Catholic Church got rid of purgatory. I thought it was a great idea in a sense. I mean, obviously, someone like me wouldn't go in ahead of Mother Teresa. You know what I mean? It's just kind of something that would make sense. But anyway, irregardless of that, the stigma that you're going to face is that people are going to tell you your child died of suicide, he took his own life, or she took her own life. They shouldn't be buried in a Catholic ceremony. It's a mortal sin. You're going to hear things like they're in hell, whatever. And it's very, very difficult to face. But beyond all that, in the more normal sense, what you're going to hear is, or not hear, because this is the big problem of it, is that people, it's always, when a child dies, it's always the elephant in the room. Now, yesterday I just went to a party. It was my sister's birthday, and she has 5 grandchildren, and they're younger, so they're not going to really be told about the situation in terms of how my son died. But the problem was that they never even knew he existed. One of the little kids, 5, said to me, "How come you don't have kids?" And I was like, "Well, I do have a son," which is another thing that people go through. Now, we only had one child, so that's another weird thing. When someone says to you, "Do you have kids?" What do you say? I mean, I wrestle with that to this day. Do I have kids? Technically, yes, I have a son, but he's not around anymore. Everything becomes complicated. But the worst part of it is when people find out how your child died. Now, in my son's case, it was a very publicized case because it happened at a hotel in Orlando. So a lot of people really knew about it, but it became the elephant in the room. And I'll talk about that on a different video. But the stigma of a child dying from suicide is very difficult, because a lot of people are going to straightly come out and say it was his fault. He went up there. He decided to do this. there's no mercy from some people. Some people just figure it's cut and dry. You know, you decided to take your own life. You're stupid. You're an idiot. And that's it. That's what happens. But you're going to face all of these things, and it's very, very difficult. Or almost what's worse than that is in the case of, like I said yesterday, they never even talked about, it's like my son never even existed. And I think as a parent, that's one of the worst things that you go through, thinking that no one's going to remember your child. Now, we all know 100 years from now, unless you're Abraham Lincoln or something, people aren't going to remember us anyway. But in your lifetime, I mean, if you love your child, which most people do, you live for your child. You live for the stories about the T-ball games and the little accomplishments and the birthday parties and things like that. And all of that just stops. But the stigma that you face as a parent of a child who committed suicide is really hard, because some people are brutal and other people just don't mention it. And I really don't know what's worse. It depends on the day. But this is something you're going to have to face and have to deal with. And you have to learn to deal with it in your own way. And there's no blueprint. I mean, for myself, I mean, my wife and I are like night and day. My wife is quiet. I'm extroverted. So my brother-in-law has suggested we start a foundation. So that's why we started the foundation. We donate musical instruments. My son was a musician, so we did that. And it makes me feel good to know that his spirit is still being carried on. Now, the foundation thing, that's another whole thing too, which is weird, but I'll do that in another video. But like I said, the stigma of having a child that passes from suicide, people treat you, or not treat you, but they treat your child. You never stop defending your child. So this is the thing. You'll find yourself in these positions where you want to fight with people, where you want to argue with people. And the reality is you're just mad that you don't have your child around. I mean, for me, that empty chair at Thanksgiving or Christmas, and, you know, and again, everyone's close to their child, but I love my son so much. I set up his musical instruments, and we bought guitars, and, you know, his friends were all welcome in our home. And, you know, he was really a part of my life. I mean, I wasn't the dad, 21, you're moving out, or you're whatever. I wasn't that type of person. Like, I just, you know, that was the thing. But the fact that it's so hard to deal with the stigma, because, again, you'll hear, oh, well, this particular person, you want to walk in their footsteps. They were a fireman. They died in the line of duty. And I'm not downgrading that at all. Don't think that's what I'm doing here. But when a child is lost in such a fashion, they're kind of romanticized, or there's like a hero thing that goes with it. But when your child dies from suicide, it's the reverse. It's reviled, and it's, you know, not talked about, and it's, you know, they did the ultimate thing that's wrong. And we all know that there's so many complications for someone to take their own life. That's a very, very difficult thing to do. And there's a lot going on, and you have to feel sorry for people who are in that spot. But this is the problem. I mean, it's, you know, suicide is treated in much a different way. I mean, think about the AIDS crisis. It was like a similar thing. If people had AIDS, they didn't care sometimes. You know, I lived through the 80s. I'm 60 years old. They didn't care how the person got it. Some people, oh, you got AIDS, you're whatever. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people like that. And some of them are your relatives. Some of the people that feel like that are going to be the ones you're going to be eating Thanksgiving dinner with, and birthdays and Christmas. It's just, and, you know, ugly things come out. This is such a strange thing, as you already know, that it's something you never even fathomed. And it's almost like, you know, you don't get to know people till you're like stranded on a desert island with them, let's just say. And this is similar to that. So a lot of negative things come out. Also a lot of positive things, because you do find out the good people too. So that's the reverse side of the coin, and you will find that as well. A lot of people do support it, or not support it, but support you and understand the situation. Now, again, I think I'll do a separate video on this one, but just for now, for this first initial video on the channel of this, is going to a group setting and, you know, being with a bunch of parents who talk about their child's suicide, is that good? I don't really know. I mean, there's a stigma to that too, in a sense, because, you know, does it make you feel better? I don't know. I know for me that didn't work, because I just walked out of there feeling worse. I mean, yeah, it's on one hand, you know, you're not alone, so that's a good thing. You know, you're not alone, but it's kind of gritty, and it's hard, because it's, you know, you're helping each other, but I think there's other ways of helping each other. So I don't know if that's really the right path, but if it works for you, that's great. That didn't work for me, so I had to do it a different way. And that's the answer to this: is you have to find your own path as to what works for you, and there's no blueprint. And you just have to try things out and just see what you could do. The main thing is to get through life yourself and just try to have some semblance of normalcy. You're never going to be totally normal again. It's never going to be at that point of, you're never going to forget it. The birthdays, the date it happened, whatever. Seeing their friends getting married and your child isn't there in the wedding party, that stuff never really goes away. And so, like I said, it's a very bad stigma, and society is very harsh on that. Especially there's a lot of people, sometimes older people too, or whatever. They'll ask you, "Oh, what was wrong with your son?" I was like, "Well, he became an alcoholic, and he was drinking too much, and he was drunk, and that's when it happened, and he was kind of, he was depressed at the time, I guess, because whatever." And they're like, "Well, there was nothing wrong with him." And so some of these people who have conditions or they're older, and they'll be like, "You mean to say he was perfectly healthy?" "Yeah, he was. I got the physical back or the autopsy back, and there was nothing wrong with him." And they're like, "Oh, that's crazy. How could you do that? You should be out dating girls, and you're at the peak of your life and whatever." And yeah, he was doing that, but it wasn't enough or whatever. But these are the things that you're going to face. And so anyway, I want to keep these videos to 10, 11 minutes, whatever, 12 minutes the most, because I'm a talker, and I hope I could help you. I hope there's something we could do. Please, if we run this foundation, if you have a talent and you want to help out, it's a 501c3. You could look everything up. Just go to our website at wafflesfoundation.com. Everything is on there. But we're here to help each other, and this is what it is. We have to learn to survive and survive each day. There's going to be really tough, bad days, and there's going to be, days that aren't so bad. There's going to be days where you dream about your child and you feel like they're with you, and I think they are with you. I do believe we're going to see them again. So that's what you have to live for. And, remember that this life is really only temporary, and that there is something else out there. We just don't understand the methodology of why our children were taken so early, but anyway. So I hope I helped a little bit with this, and please leave comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know if there's a video you want me to make on this. I'm just I have a second channel on YouTube, so I want to try and just create awareness, help the foundation, and that's just all we can do, So this is Alfred signing off. Al, let me know. You can drop me an email at wafflesfoundation@gmail.com, and I'll see you in the next video. And bless everybody, and I hope that you have the best day possible, and that try to remember some of the positive, good things, and yeah. So have a great day, best you can. Take care. Bye.